All right, ladies and gentlemen and programmers, we're going to do part 3 of chapter 5. We're going to learn about abstraction. All right, you should have this code already. Private Boolean is down. You should have this. Check key press. You should have this. This is the code that we had at the beginning, but we deleted it. So take a look at that, figure that out. Okay, so take a look at your code inside the key, and we have this thing that says play. We're asking it to do something it already knows how to do. What is that called? And then down here, we're teaching it how to do something it didn't know how to do before. We're teaching it how to play. What do you call it when you teach a class to do something it didn't know how to do before? What is this called? What is this called? Answer that in your notes. All right, so we're going to create 2 keys, and we're going to figure out something is wrong. What is wrong? So we're going to add a key and another key, and we're going to hit run, and we're going to press the G key, and they both play at the same time. What's the dealio? What is wrong? They both play at the same time. They both play the same sound, and they play when we press the G key. What do we need to do to make the keys react to different keyboard keys? Right, to answer that, what do you think we should do? What would be a great solution? All right, you come up with an answer. What do we need to do to make the keys react to different keyboard keys and play different sounds? All right, so here's a thought that most people come up with. They say, well, let's just make a bunch of different classes. We'll make one that plays the G, one that plays the J, and one that plays the H. The only problem is we're going to end up with a ton of different classes, and then also all of these classes are going to have almost identical code except for what key it plays and what sound it plays. The other problem with that is that you're going to, if you decide, oh, I need to make a change, you're going to have to make the change here, 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 and all the way down, 100 different times, which makes no sense. So instead, we're going to use the concept of abstraction. We're going to create one key that can do everything. So we're going to use one key that can play every sound, play every key, make white keys and black keys. Okay? Write that down in your notes, by the way. Okay, so what 4 things need to be different with each key? Okay, write that down in your notes. And the answer is each key needs to have, so this key right here has to have, every key needs to have a different key, a sound, and then an up image, down image, because some are going to have white up and down images and some are going to have black up and down images. So here's the solution. We're going to write this code. You already have this one. So we say private string key, private string sound, greenfoot image, up image, and down image. Okay? So we're going to create 4 new instance variables that will help us to do all that. Okay, so we're going to create an instance variable to hold the name of the key, and we're going to create an instance variable to hold the name of the sound file. Okay, what is this going to look like? So draw a picture in your notes, and I'm going to make you show this to me, that represents this, and it should look like a picture of a key with a rope with a box called key and a box called sound and a box called up image and a box called down image, because these are all instance variables. What do you call it when you make an empty box? Well, we have an empty box called C sound, up image, down image. That's called declaring instance variables. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So we'll look at it in my project here. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Up at the top we have, no, not there. Here we go, right here. So we create our key, and then we probably already had that key, sound, up, down. That's what you're going to have first. So we're going to declare instance variables. Then we need to initialize or assign something to them. So we're going to put something into sound, something into key, something into up image, and something into down image. Okay, so when we're going to do that into the constructor, what is a constructor and why is it a good place to put this code? Answer that question. Why do we use parameters here? Well, you won't know that. So look, let's take a look. So this is our constructor, and this is a special method that runs one time. The constructor has the same name as the class, key, right? And this is a great place to do it because how many times do we need to say is down is false? How many times do we need to put something, choose the sound and the key? Well, we just need to do it once. Well, when do we need to do it? Like 10 minutes into while we're playing the keyboard? No, right at the beginning. So the constructor runs one time right when the key first gets created, so that's a good time to do it. Why do we put parameters here? Okay, so we're going to build this constructor, public key, and sometimes we have nothing here in between these parentheses, but this time we have these parameters, and they're basically saying, hey, every time you make a key, you need to send me the key name and the sound file. Why do we do parameters? Well, that's exactly what we need. We need each key to be told the different key name and the different sound file. What do you call it when you stick something in an empty box for the first time? Well, if you stick something in a box, it's called assigning. When you're doing it for the first time, like we're doing right here, it is called initializing. Okay, so these parameters tell you, when you first create the key, they tell you the key name and the sound file, and then we're using key and sound. We're stashing the key here and the sound there. Then they are stashed in our instance variables. Okay, very good. Okay, so I talked earlier about drawing a picture. Well, it should look like something like this. So we have our key object, and we have a box called key and a box called sound. They both hold string data, and that string data is going to be the key and the sound. What are the names of the first and the second instance variables? Key and sound. What are their data types? Well, let's take a look. So if we go up here and we have key and sound, what are their data types? They're string. They hold letters or words. Okay, so they need to be in quotation marks. All right, implement the changes discussed above. Add the key to the world and see what happens. All right, so basically what we're saying is make sure you get this, make sure you get this code. Okay, and let's see what happens when we add a key to the world. So we're going to add a new key. And it's like, oh my goodness, what's this? This thing popped up. Why did it pop up? Well, we just told it to. Because we put key name and string sound file, we put those parameters in the constructor, and so now we have to do this. We have to give it the information it wants as string, so we have to put it in quotation marks. Okay, and so I know that G works. I know 3a.wave is a sound file that's there. Okay, and if I hit run, it works. Okay, so far so good. So far so good. Let's keep going. Okay, so quiz question: why does this pop up when you add a key to the world? And the answer is because in your constructor of the key, you added these parameters, which demand that you give it a key and sound file. All right, create a method in the piano world named make 3 keys that will add 3 keys, but add them in so that your key object reacts to 3 different keys and plays 3 different sounds. Okay, so what does that mean? It means you're going to go like this. You're going to go into the piano world, and you're going to create a method called public void make 3 keys, and so you're going to add an object. So now, so you know when you add a key, you have to, now we changed it, so now you have to give it 2 things, 2 string data in parameters. You have to give it the key and the sound file. Okay, and you can make it with any key or sound file you want, but just make sure when you do this, you look inside the sounds folder, and here's all the ones available, so you can use any of those that you want. Okay, so if you want to copy mine, you can. And here, by the way, I put the X and the Y coordinates, and I wanted to, you can do it however you wanted, but this is what I did in order to get them all scoochied over. Okay, and notice that when I hit reset, nothing happens. Why? Well, I didn't ask it. I taught it how to do this. I didn't ask it how to. So inside the constructor here for the piano, I'm going to say, hey, the first thing I want you to do after you set up the world is add 3 keys. Okay, so I added the 3 keys like that. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what happens. Okay, it says that there's a problem. Well, what's the problem? Well, let's look. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit run. I'm going to try my keys, D. So I just realized that I'd got ahead of myself. So let's try it again. So it was working a little bit weird. Here, let's try it again. So I'm going to press the D, nothing, F, nothing, G. So they're still all playing with the G key. What's the deal? So I wrote all this code to do it. What's the problem? Well, let's figure it out. Okay, so the problem is in the key class. So if you look in the key class, so what have we done? Well, look, we did all this work. We sent it the key name. We sent it the sound file. We stashed it in key. We stashed it in sound. But if you come down here to the check key press, look what we did. We say, hey, no matter what, play the G. No matter what, play the G. No matter what, play 3a.wave. Well, here's the question. What variable is holding the correct sound file? What variable is holding the correct key? Well, if we look up here, we know that it is key and sound. So what should we do? Well, if key is holding the correct key, then we should say, instead of always saying, hey, play G, we'll say key. Notice there's no quotation marks because it's the box called key, not the letters key. Same thing here, we'll do key, and then same thing down here, we'll say, what's the box is holding the correct sound? Sound. Okay, so let's see if that fixes it. Let's see if that fixes it. Okay, so now we're going to hit run, and we're going to say, okay, so it plays with different keys and plays different sounds, so we solved the problem. Okay, good? Okay. Okay, so here's what we have now. So now in the world we've created a key object, another key object, and even though they're made from the same class, this one's key variable is holding G and this one's holding 3a.wave, and we can look at that, right? So if I right click, if I hit pause and I inspect, we can see that this guy is holding a D and a 3a.wave, and if I inspect this guy, we can see that this one's holding a F and a 3G.wave. So even though they're created from the same class, their instance variables are holding different values. Okay, so here's the deal. So whenever we create a key, right, we say, hey, what's the key? Well, this one's going to be G and 3A.wave. And so these values are stored in key name and sound file in these things in the parameters. Now, these are special things. These are called local variables. Okay, these local variables, they belong to the method named key, and they only work between here and here. They will not work anywhere else outside of here. Okay, and so they're stashed in there temporarily, right? The problem is we need to use them all the time. So what do we do? Well, then we're going to put them into our instance variables. So from our local variables, key name and sound file, to our instance variables, key and sound, and these things belong to the class. They will work everywhere, and they will last the lifetime of this key. Okay, and so why is it bad that key name and sound file disappear? Well, it's bad because we need this information. Why is it good? It's good because we don't clog up the RAM with unneeded variables. So these will disappear. So they disappear, but we're okay because we have them in our instance variables. Okay, so here again we have key name, sound file. These are our local variables, and local variables belong to the method. Write this down. They only work in that method, so they'll only work between here and here, and then they disappear when the method has finished running, so they won't clog up the RAM. Okay, all right. So we replace this. Okay, let's try this. So I'm gonna show you how this works. So we're gonna come over to our key, and we're going to take a look. All right, so look at this. We have this thing called sound file, and we have this thing called key name. Look, it works great right here, right? So I'm gonna copy it, no problems. Okay, and if I come down here and say, hey, let's use that instead, key name, what happens? You can't find it. It doesn't exist, right? Because it will only, even though it works great up here, right? It works great up here, but that is a local variable. It will only work between here and here because it belongs to the key method, which happens to be the constructor. Same thing, if we try the same thing with sound file, I copy it. It works great here. I come down here, and I replace this. What happens? Won't work. It will only work up there. Okay, so what is the error, and why do you get it? You know, try the same thing, write it down. All right, we're going to do our quiz for day 3. Say, show me your project, answer this question, and make sure you are able to show me your method in piano called make 3 keys. Okay, that's it, folks.